Hello and welcome to Sketch Together. My name is Pablo Stanley. This is part of a crash course on Framer, a tool for designing and prototyping projects. On this video, we're going to learn how to create draggable layers. Draggable layers include physics and many customizable properties that open up new creative possibilities. Let's get started. Let's start by creating a draggable layer. This is the kind of thing that we're going to be able to do. But let's do it from scratch. So I'm going to delete all of this code. I'm going to go back to the Design tab so we can see we have just a rectangle. I called it box, and then I created a target here. That way I can edit it on the code. So I'm going to go to the code, and I'm going to simply set draggable enable to true on this layer. So I'm going to say box, and then draggable, and then I'm going to say that it's going to be enable equals true. There you go. Now let's test it. There you go. Now you can toss it around. Oops, I don't know where it go. Let me reload this. And as you can see, right now, it's you can drag it anywhere, horizontally, vertically, and anywhere, and it has all of these physics. Right now, it's just going away from the screen if you drag it too fast. So let's restrict the direction of where we want this layer to be dragged. Let's say that box draggable vertical, and then I'm going to say false. So now I can only drag it horizontally. But sometimes you don't want the element to be dragged out of the screen, right? You probably want to have constraints of where the element is dragged. So you can set constraints to your draggable layer too. So I'm going to go and say box draggable dot constraints and then equals. And then here I can put the X position, the Y position, a width, height, and all of these different values. So I'm going to say that it only drags on the X position until 32 pixels. So now it only drags until here. And now I want to set the width of how much this is going to be dragged to. So I'm going to say width. I'm going to say that it drags all the way to 300. So now it drags all the way here to the left and all the way here to the right. Something really cool is that you can also add drag events when you are dragging. So for example, I want to add an event that when I start dragging, this box grows. So I'm going to go and say box on drag start. I select it here from the list. I add my dash and my chevron. And I'm going to say that the box starts animating. And I'm going to say that it just scales up to 1.2. So now when I start dragging, see how it animated, but then it stayed there. So I want to add another event that says that when the box on drag ends, then it goes back to the original scale. So I'm going to say box animate and then back to the original scale. So 1. So when I start dragging, see it grew, and then when I stop dragging, then it goes back to the scale of 1. Start, and then it starts scaling up, and then I stop, and then it goes down. I can additionally add some animation options if I want to. So for example, I wanted to animate with a curve, and I'm going to say that it's a spring. And I'm going to say that the damping is probably 0.3. And I'm going to do the same with when the dragging starts. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to add a space. There you go. So see, now it bounces, and when I stop dragging, it bounces back. Sometimes you want to add additional constraints to your layer. For example, here, this layer is constrained to the vertical position and to this size, but it still bounces and over drags. And sometimes that's not something you want. So to remove that, just go to box, draggable, and then you can start typing over drag, and then you can set it to false. And now it shouldn't over drag. It just stops right there, but it still bounces. So if I toss it, it still bounces. So if you want to remove that too, you can just say box, draggable, bounce, and equals false. And now it doesn't bounce and it doesn't over drag. It's not as fun, but sometimes that's exactly what you need.